So my first question has to do with your statements regarding differences between the Finnish approach to education and the American approach to education, especially in the area of standardized testing and assessment. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think there's a striking difference between these two countries, how we both think about standardized, not only standardized testing, but also accountability in education, and how we employ, how we do those things in practice. I think here in the United States, testing in general and accountability in particular are much more kind of a central players in education, with all sorts of consequences to both teachers and particularly students than it is in Finland. I think that the big difference is that in Finland, overall, that we trust our teachers and schools much more than that the schools and teachers seem to be trusted here in the United States in terms of relying teachers on assessing students, deciding, judging how well they are progressing in the school, and also trusting schools in terms of reporting their own performance and own work, compared to what it is here in the United States, that there seems to be a kind of a general view that data has to be collected from each and every child every year in many of the subjects before you can decide whether the progress is there or that the system is performing. And we think very differently in Finland about that.
So as a parent, if I had a child in a Finnish school, how would what would be the communication that would reassure me that my child is learning well and what he or she needs to know?
Well, first of all, in a Finnish school we have a very common practice, it's almost universal practice, that we have a so-called, what you call a looping system in primary school, which means that the same teacher is teaching the same group of children, often for at least 4 years, which means that this type of practice is able to build a good and open communication and also understanding between the teacher and the parents. So that's why our teachers, they know the parents, they know the children very well because they work with them in longer periods of time. And that's why I think this communication regarding questions like, are my children learning in a school, gets a little bit different flavor because of this kind of open and closer relationship between the school and the parents. But overall, I think that the Finnish parents are really fairly confident with what the school system is doing. We often do the surveys that you do here and many others, asking taxpayers how much they trust and can rely on the schools and teachers and their work. And we have during the last 15 years, we have had the confidence level has been over 90%, meaning that the vast majority of parents really can rely on what the schools are doing, and very few actually question the school's ability and kind of a correctness of judging whether the kids are learning. I think that the teachers in every school in Finland, that they meet with the parents of their pupils regularly. There's actually a rule that they have to have these one-on-one meetings with each and every parent in order to build this relationship. But I think that the culture is a little bit different. Somehow we seem to trust what the teachers and schools are doing more than many other countries around the world.
So that also may actually speak to something else you've spoken about, and that's teacher training. Mm-hmm. And there's somehow a great difference between how teachers are prepared in the schools in Finland as opposed to the United States, let's say.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a big difference, not only in terms of teacher training, but the whole teaching profession, how we perceive teachers and the work that they do. It's a little bit the same when I look around the United States, different professions, that the Finnish primary school teachers and teachers overall, they are like your lawyers or doctors, that they are held in a kind of a similar prestige and value for the society. And just like here, I don't know about lawyers, but I rarely hear people, questioning the moral or professional ability or capability of medical doctors, or dentists, or designers, architects to do what they do. And we have exactly the same thing, and it's very much because we do not allow anybody else to teach in our schools than those who have gone through a standardized high advanced academic degrees. So every teacher must have a master's degree, and you can earn those master's degrees only in a small number of research universities that we have.
So are they trained in a discipline and then in educational practice? How does it?
Well, it depends on what type of teachers we are talking about. Let's speak about primary school teachers first. If you want to become a primary school teacher in Finland, you have to enroll in directly into master's degree program in education. So your major will be education, and then you have minor subjects among those subjects that you will be teaching in a primary school. And the studies normally last for 5 or 6 years, and it gives you a master's degree. If you teach mathematics or physics, like I was a math and physics teacher in Finland, we normally do a master's degree first in our major subject. Like my major subject was mathematics, so I studied 5 years math and physics and chemistry, earned my master's degree, and then went to study 1 year education and pedagogy. So all of our teachers, they have, I would say that in general, the teachers in Finland have much deeper and kind of a more scientific knowledge on the subject that they teach compared to the United States and most other countries. And our primary school teachers, which is a kind of a foundation of the Finnish school system, have far more studies and deeper understanding about and kind of a broad range of issues regarding teachers' work in school. Particularly nowadays, I think what is critical in Finland among primary school teachers that they are trained during their 5 or 6 years of studies in curriculum theories, curriculum planning, all these things that now are done to a large extent here in the United States by somebody else outside of the school, and also student assessment and evaluation. If you look at the teacher education programs in Finland, all the students go fairly deep in kind of a psychometrics and assessment and evaluation theory so that they can design these tests and assessments for their kids. Again, here in the United States, there's an increasing number of teacher preparation programs where there's no student assessment at all anymore because it's done by somebody else. So that's where the professions are very, very different.
So, I know that you are very familiar with schools in the United States. You are here now for a year at least and studied and have been here before. If you could, in terms of reform, if you could advise boards and leaders of schools in the United States as to how they should prioritize in the interest of reform, what would you recommend?
Well, it's a great question, first of all, and people almost every day somebody asks me this, what should we do? And obviously the answer depends on, if you think about the kind of a menu of things that should be done, and I understand, as you said, I've been living here in the United States before, and I live here right now. I understand that some of these things are rather political, and sometimes you can make proposals, but it doesn't really lead anywhere because they are difficult to do. But if you have a school board, or if you have a school that has power and authority, alone or together with somebody else to do something, I see that one of the biggest things that, from my point of view, kind of prevents American school system, that kind of on its foundation is strong. I think all of these innovations and ideas that has made Finland great, and Singapore great, and South Korea, and even Shanghai great, are from the United States of America. So the things are here. But now the question is that what is preventing your schools from making more out of those things? And I think that one thing that I would like to change here, if I had a power, would be certainly to try to change radically even the role of standardized testing and data and accountability that is now kind of occupying almost a kind of a key role in education again. It's so dominant, as far as I understand from schools and people that I've been talking to, that almost everything is dominated and kind of defined through the role of the standardized assessment and accountability. I hear some people telling me in the school boards and schools that they spend up to 1/3 of their time on testing. And excuse me for saying this, but for somebody who's coming from a completely different culture, my reaction is that this doesn't make any sense. How can you expect that your kids will learning the same way as they do in Finland or Canada if you take 1/3 of the time, out of them, and from teachers as well. So that's why I'm saying that why don't you design and redesign and rethink the whole concept of testing and accountability and data, so that it would be helping children and helping teachers and parents and schools to do more than they do. I think you spend far too long time for those things, and it costs this country and the districts and states far too many dollars just to get this data that is often obsolete in terms of being able to help kids. Because when you have the data available and you post it on the walls of the schools, those kids are gone already. And there's very little that teachers can do with those individual kids. And you know what we do in Finland instead, we spend very little money on testing and accountability, actually a fraction of what you do here. And that money that we have available, because we spend more or less the same amount of money for education, that money we spend on helping schools, and particularly those students who need more help than the others do to be successful.
Do we have time for one more question? You have, I think, spoken very eloquently about the role of play. Could you talk a little bit about that as the last question?
Yeah, I think play is important in our lives overall. I think the adults are playful human beings, just like children are. And I'm speaking about play probably more and more frequently than I used to do when I see more schools and more places, more communities where children have less and less access to play. It's not only here in the United States, it's particularly places like China, the Southeast Asia, many other countries where the kind of academic learning has been penetrating earlier and earlier in children's lives. Sometimes the kind of a so-called real learning of math and reading begins at the age of 3, when I think the kids should be playing. But I think the play is important for me, because I see that the play is probably the best way to help every individual to realize that they have a thing called mind. That the mind is able to imagine things, that they can create ideas that can be helpful for them and other people. I see more and more people when I travel around the world who tell me that they don't have imagination, that they are not creative, but they know some people who are, and I try to understand why is this, and it often is because we, the adults, have been stealing the time for play from children, because we think that they need more kind of a serious academic content so that they can be more successful, and often that they can perform better in these standardized assessments, which is, I think, it's not only wrong, but it's almost like a crime against children. And that's why I think it's very important to, first of all, understand that the play as a kind of a human activity is a very complex set of skills and habits of mind. And in order to be good in play, or any other similar complex intellectual, social activity, you have to practice that a long time. And if you believe what some people have been saying, that any complex skill requires about 10,000 hours of practice, think about playing violin or playing golf or learning a foreign language or other language, it means that the kids have to practice play at least 10,000 hours if they're going to be good in play, good in using their imagination. And that's why I don't believe that anybody can be good in play just by kind of an innate ability, that most people need to practice that so that they can use that skill for their learning, for their work, for their lives and many other things. And that's why I think this kind of an extended idea of letting children play and also design and redesign school days, especially here in the United States, so that every child in every school every day would have enough time to do their own things. In Finland, for example, we have a regulation that one lesson is 60 minutes. This is what the national law says, that one lesson in school is 60 minutes, of which 15 minutes must be given to children. So it means that we have 15 minutes math, 45 minutes math and 15-minute break for children. All the kids go out and they do their own plays, then they come back to classroom for 45 minutes, followed by 15 minutes, that type of activities. And that's why I think that the Finnish kids, they kind of can continue and maintain this kind of a state of mind that they can play and create their ideas also in the school. That is less and less happening here in the United States, where I read somewhere that one quarter of your primary schools don't have recess at all anymore. And I think that's something that should be, if there's one lesson from Finland for the American primary schools here, is that please bring back the time for children to play through recess or kind of a regular breaks during and throughout the day, that every child should have at least hour and a half time during the school day to do their own things.
Thank you very much, Pasi Sahlberg. It's a pleasure.
Thank
Enjoyed
you.
this very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.